Welcome back to Miniature Game Montage. Today we will be learning to play Bolt Action. Bolt Action is a 28mm World War II game made by Warlord Games. I will more than likely get several things wrong, so feel free to point those out in the comments below. We're playing at 750 points with the units that I have right now, so the list won't be optimized. In fact, I'm not even sure how to optimize a list at this point. As with most of my battle reports, I like to include a narrative to help set the scene. This is purely a work of fiction. Any names or events are purely coincidental and will not be historically accurate. I hope you enjoy. We hit the beaches of Normandy, and I can say that I have seen hell on earth. In this great divide, I can say, no matter what the cause, the German soldier is a formidable opponent. They fight with a resiliency and drive equal to our own. The fighting is just beginning as we move forward to liberate France. Second Lieutenant John Walker.
Second Lieutenant, these guys have been dug in like an Alabama tick for days. We have to create a hole for our armor to get through. It's just too dangerous with a Panzer Shrek in every field waiting to take us down. We'll have to put in the work to get the job done. Scouts report a small German contingent is in the area. Our mission is to eliminate that threat. We attack at first light.
With deployment complete, the Americans will have a light mortar team on the field, along with a squad of 9 veteran infantry. There will be the HQ unit there with 1 Ford man, a 75 Sherman tank, a machine gun team. You've got another squad of 9 infantry with 2 BARs in each of those. There is a bazooka team on the field and a 57mm anti-tank gun. The mission today will be to eliminate the German force. And over on the German side, after deployment, there will be 2 squads of grenadiers. There is a light machine gun in one of those, some Panzerfaust options. They have a Hanomag close by, the second lieutenant with his forward upman, as well as a Tiger 1. Prior to the game beginning, there was a forward artillery bombardment on the German positions, and each squad received 2 pins except for the Tiger. Now, I may screw up on the first move here, but the Americans pull the first die, and the machine gun team is going to do an advance. They are fixed, but they can move 12 inches, and I move them up into the house. The bazooka team will activate next, and they are going to move up behind the wooded terrain to keep out of line of sight. Next up, a squad of 9 American infantry will run up to the side of the house. Next up, the other squad of American infantry will do an advance because you can't run over the obstacle, and they will move 6 inches and reposition. The Germans will pull their first activation out of the bag, and they roll a 10 and unable to shake those pins, so they go down. Next up, the second lieutenant for the US is going to move up with an advance behind the wall. Then the German infantry will pull a die, and they're going to attempt to advance and end up going down. Next up, the mortar team is going to do a run to reposition on top of the hill. The other German infantry pulls a die, and they roll out of the box again, unable to move, they go down. The Tiger is up next. Similar story, also has to go down due to the pin. And then the 57 goes into ambush in case that half-track decides to move up. The Sherman activates next. He does an advance, Visibility is limited to 24 inches this round, so no shots going out. Next, the Hanomag will activate and it will be unable to rally. With turn 1 in the books, the Americans pretty much moved at will, and the first turn is like many games. It's all about positioning, moving your guys up the board. I may have broken a rule here at the very beginning of the game, moving that machine gun team up into terrain with a run order. I'll have to double check that, but feel free to leave something in the comments. The Americans were able to move freely without any kind of issue. On the other hand, the Germans, they had numerous issues, and every one of their units went down due to pins and just rolling high. They could not execute any orders. Even the Tiger is in a down position, so we'll have to see if their fortune improves in turn 2. The Americans will draw the first die, and the 57 will target the Tiger tank, and it will be a miss. The Sherman will activate next, and he will target the Tiger with his 75mm cannon, and it will miss. The machine guns will then rattle off at the infantry there in the woods. It does need 7s. Quite a few 6s do roll out. So we will roll those up looking for another 6 to convert the hit. And we will get 1. And rolling for damage, however, it will fail. That unit will take 1 more pin, however, and in reading the rules again on pinning, I did get this wrong in the first turn on how you recover from those. The second lieutenant provides a 6-inch buff that gives you +1 to your morale, and pinning, if you do a rally order, has no effect on that, no negative modifier, so I'll try to correct that moving forward. That's all relevant because this unit is now going to try a rally order in which that 10 will officially pass, getting the buff from the second lieutenant. They will rally off D6 +1, so 2 pins removed. The machine guns will then activate next, firing through the window at the small team and miss. The Americans continue to pull dice, and this infantry unit is going to do a run order, and they will be moving further up the board to get into position. Next up, the light mortar team is going to attempt to lay down smoke. They need a 6 to have that go off. It would prevent the Tiger from shooting the Sherman. And then next, the Americans draw another die, and the second lieutenant is going to advance over the wall. The German infantry will pass an order test to remove the pin and advance into the woods. They will lay down a hail of fire at the advancing Americans. They will get many hits, and then rolling out, they will do 1 damage. The first casualty of the battle is taken. The Tiger tank will activate next. He will roll off the pin and move up 9 inches. He will then target the Sherman and roll out a 6, which will be a hit. He'll then roll to damage. He gets a 4, which will damage the tank. And how much is going to be a 6? That means the tank is going to explode. The hull-mounted machine guns will then target the infantry that are in the house, needing 6s. They do get 2 hits, but no damage is rolled. The Hanomag will activate, and even with the second lieutenant close by, can't roll off the pins and pass the order dice. He goes down. Next, the second lieutenant will advance up behind the Tiger tank. And then on the other side of the board, the Americans will activate last. The bazooka team will move up into the forest and target the Tiger tank. They will roll out a 6, which will be a hit. The damage, however, fails. So very unfortunate for the bazooka team. It was a close but no cigar. At the end of turn 2, the mortars failed to put down smoke, which may have prevented that Sherman from getting blown up. We did have some hits that were taken, so pin markers went out. We did have our first casualty with the infantry unit over here, and the Germans have weathered that early artillery bombardment quite well, being able to recover and lay down some fire. The Tiger tank really did some work in this one, knocking out that Sherman tank, as well as laying down a lot of fire from the machine guns. We'll have to see what happens in turn 3. The Americans pull the first die, and the bazooka team again targets the Tiger and misses. They pull the second die. The mortar team attempts to lay down smoke, needing a 5 now, and they will miss. Then the Tiger activates. He moves up with an advance and then rotates the turret. He fires the hull-mounted machine gun at the first set of infantry. He needs 7s because they went down. So he does get a 6, and he'll see if he can convert this into another 6 to make that a hit, which it does. The damage roll was taken off camera. It failed. The other machine guns go into the machine gun team in the building, and they will get a hit, needing a 6. Rolling that out for a 5, they will do a wound. The Germans will pull the next die, and the infantry team is going to move up and attempt to lay down fire, but they roll their order test and they foobar, which is a double 6. They execute a run order, falling back. Next up, the half-track will activate, and he will finally pass an order test to remove 1 pin. He will rotate and move, and that will officially put him at a firing range of the 57 anti-tank gun. Next up, that gun will rotate and fire at the approaching Tiger. Needing 5s, he does score a hit, but the roll to damage, however, is a fail. And so far, this Tiger is proving to be very resilient. Next up, the American machine gun team will pass an order test to rally off that pin. They will then fire down at the German officers. They will need 7s, however, due to long range, small team cover, and the officers being pinned. Those shots will fail. The next group of American infantry will fail an order test and go down. The second lieutenant will then advance back over the wall to try to provide that 6-inch buff. And then over on the German side, they pull a die. The infantry rolls a 9 on their order test, and that will make them go down. The German officers shake off a pin by passing an order test and fire at the bazooka team. They all miss, however. And at the end of the turn, I'm starting to feel like I may be doing a lot of things wrong, so feel free to let me know in the comments what I'm missing here. The Americans are having a really tough time dealing with this Tiger tank in the middle of the board. Bazooka up close can't do anything. The German infantry continue to get pinned, and they can't seem to get out of it. And I keep rolling. They maybe have 1 or 2 pins on them, and they are just not doing anything, and they go back down. The Sherman 75 obviously is destroyed, but the Americans are going to have to make a push here going into turn 4. A German die is pulled, and the Tiger 1 will activate, firing the hull machine gun at the 1st Infantry Squad, getting 5 hits, and then causing 2 damage. So 2 infantry go down. The other machine gun will target the other infantry squad, and they will get 1 hit, needing 6s here, and that will not convert damage. The German Grenadiers will then try to roll off their pin, and it does not work with a 9, so they go back down. The bazooka then fires at the Tiger, and he gets a hit. Can it convert into damage? It does not, so the Tiger still stands. Then the American infantry will shake off a pin marker, and they will make a run move up to the hedge, and they're staring down the eye of the Tiger. The German infantry activate next, and they also roll a 9, and they will go down. Next up, the 57 will line up a shot at the Tiger, and he will miss due to cover. Then the Hanomag is going to turn the corner, and he is going to take some shots at the machine gun team, needing 6s, maybe even 7s due to them being a small team. However, all of them miss. Then we're going to see the officers move up close range to the bazooka team, and they are going to open up fire. They are going to get some hits, and then a damage is dealt out, so one of those men will go down. A morale check by the bazooka team is successful. The American mortar team activates next, but they will fire and miss. And then the machine gun team will activate last, firing at the infantry well off in the distance. They do score a hit, but it does fail to do damage. Lastly, the second lieutenant hops over the wall, and he is just trying to provide his rally bonus as things are going to get dicey as we head into turn 5. The Americans, once again, I feel with a lackluster turn, they are more or less just kind of weathering the storm. Need to do something about this Tiger, and they're going to have to get pretty aggressive, I think, to do something, and this is going to be the turn to do it as the game is starting to wind down to the later phase. So the Germans could apply more pressure, but the infantry simply can't do anything. They can't seem to pass any kind of order test to get up. Other than that, the Tiger has just been doing a lot of work. We'll have to see what happens in turn 5. It's still anyone's game. The Americans still have the order dice advantage, and they will pull the first die. They will need to pass an order check with Tiger Fear, which I believe is giving them a -4 modifier. They do pass. They leap over, climb on top of the tank, and start swinging. They will get 7 hits. They need a 3 or higher to cause damage to the tank, and they fail. a regroup roll is rolled out, and they will fall back 4 inches. The German player pulls the next die, and the Tiger readies its machine guns. In a tactical error, I believe, by the Americans, they did not go down. The machine guns fire at the 1st Infantry unit, getting 5 hits. That will convert to 4 damage with a number of 6s. 1 superficial damage is going to be rolled out, and that unit will be decimated. It will take a morale test and fail, and that unit has fled the board. The next group of infantry is targeted by the machine guns. A number of hits here. They will get 2 wounds with a 6, no superficial damage, and that unit is pinned. On the next activation, the German officers charge the bazooka team. They will attack at the same time, but due to being within 6 inches, there's no reactions to this. They swing, and the bazooka misses. 2 hits go out onto the bazooka team. He gets killed, and a regroup is rolled 2 inches. The Hanomag will unload machine guns into the American machine gun team. Should have been 6s. We counted 5s here, but 4 hits, and they do get 1 damage, so 1 more will be killed. A morale check was passed. The 57 then lines up a shot at the Tiger tank, and he will get a hit. However, no damage will be rolled. The Tiger still stands. Next up is going to be the mortar team. They will fire and completely miss the Hanomag. The American 2nd Lieutenant gets a little closer, hoping to win off the first dice roll next turn and do a snap 2 against that Tiger. The American machine gun team will target the infantry off in the distance, needing 6 now due to only 1 man being left in this machine gun group. They do get a hit, but they do fail to damage. That infantry unit will activate next, and now with 3 pins, they will fail to activate and go down. With turn 5 concluded, the Germans are certainly getting the upper hand in this battle. The Tiger tank continues to do a lot of damage and unable to have any damage done to it, no matter what the Americans have thrown at it. So moving into turn 6, if the Americans can go first and do a snap 2 and assault that Tiger tank again, they do have the potential to take something out that would completely swing the tide of battle. Fortune favors the dice bag, however, and the Germans go first. The Tiger tank is going to back up so it's not exposed, and it will rattle off machine gun fire at the American machine gun team, getting some hits, doing some damage, and taking them off the board. So the Tiger, again, eliminating a unit. Next up, the German infantry will activate. They will roll off their pin by passing a morale check. They will move up and target that American 57 up on the hill. They will get a few hits that go through, and they will cause 2 damage. We roll for superficial damage, which really doesn't matter here, but the 57 will take a morale check and fail. They will flee the board. Next up, the 2nd Lieutenant for the German Army. They will simply do an advance to move out of line of sight. Next up, the American mortar team now tries to fire at the Hanomag again, and they will miss. The Hanomag then turns and moves up the field and rattles off their machine guns at that mortar platoon. They do a damage, but 2 men still remain. The American infantry activate next. They roll off that pin by passing a morale test. They scale over the hedgerow and target the German officers. They are a small team, so they need 5s. The bars roll out 4 shots and miss. The rifles roll out 4 shots, and they will miss. And then the submachine gun will roll out 2 shots and get 2 hits. The SMG only needed 4s, but there is no damage. The American officers then scale over the hedgerow and take shots, but they will miss. The German infantry decides to go down as the game is officially concluded. So at the end of 6, it was really tough going for the American team. They had a very tough time bringing down that Tiger tank. And maybe that's the thing about Tiger tanks, is they're more of a distraction on the battlefield, although I have read that, they're not very competitive or anything like that. It could be off due to the points as well, or just what I brought for the Americans. But this is going to be a German victory. I'm sure there is just a ton of stuff that I got wrong that probably, outweighed and led to that conclusion. But I have reached out to a few folks that know bolt action really well, and hopefully they will give me some good feedback on how I can improve and how I can get the rules better. I would like to have more narrative battle reports about bolt action. I really like the dice bag system where you're randomly drawing for a turn every single time that you pull a die out of the bag. I think that is really cool and leads to some real tactical decisions. So hopefully I didn't mess up too bad and you still enjoyed the report. I can promise you it's only going to get better from here. Stay tuned for more. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.